What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Mystic Watch, and today we got a brand new video. We're going to be doing a global tier list for the best units that are going to be out on launch day. I want to preface this by saying this might be an incorrect list of characters due to the fact that the information that I'm basing this off of is a test or beta server leak with a list of the characters. We have the original starting roster of the Japanese day one characters, but there's some additional characters on here. So that's what I wanted to point out, where this might not be exactly the correct list, but based on if these units were in the game, and majority of these will be, it's really just like a matter of an additional like 4 or 5 characters that were thrown in here. This is what I'm basing it off of. So keep in mind, if day one you see some characters that are in here that aren't on here, or vice versa, this is an incomplete list. The actual global launch day will be out in 3 days from now. March 3rd, that's a national holiday that we're going to be celebrating when global launches, but let's get into it. So I have these separated in a interesting way. Not really. I pretty much stole the whole list off of Nagato. Well, in terms of he made this bank of characters. This is the full Japanese roster of the game, right? But we're just looking at the units that'll be here on global. So anything down here is kind of irrelevant. These are units that don't exist currently on global. Now, the way I'm going to be doing this is I rank things, everyone ranks things in their own way. This is going to be an overall tier list for units that will be most useful to you in this game. And when I say useful, I don't mean like how viable they are. Like, if you invest into these units, you're going to get value out of them. And that's what I mean. That's why we have this like big bank of characters on the bottom, where I'm kind of just like, yeah, it doesn't really matter if you level them up or not. You don't need them to get through in the game. The game is currently, story mode and PvP. I'm also going into this video considering that people who have not played JP will be watching this. So I'm going to try to make things as simple or as explained as possible. I will not be explaining what the characters do for the most part. Right? I'll briefly give a description as to why I'm putting them here. But if you want to learn more about the game's information, you can check out one of two websites. You have Grand Cross Database or GC Database, and you have STS GC, which is 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. Both of the links will be down below. So feel free to take a look, at the icons that I'm using and simply find the characters there and look more into them, because I will not be explaining them in full details over here. This is simply me ranking them so you have an idea of when global comes out and you learn more about the characters, why each are in their own place, or maybe you wanted a reference for rerolling as well. To start off, there are 6 unique characters on here. This is Gowther, King, Merlin, Demon Meliodas, Ban, and this Diane. These 6 units are different than the rest of the units because they are known as coin shop units. Coin shop units are not in banners. They can only be found by acquiring dupes of the same rarity and submitting and purchasing them from a coin shop that is always in the game. Each coin shop unit is 7 coins to purchase at any time, or if you wait for them to be on a rotation, they will be discounted on, for a week or two, where you can purchase them at a discounted rate of 5 coins. You get these coins from, in this game, you cannot sell units or delete units. When you pull a unit and you pull a second version or second copy of that unit, that second copy immediately becomes a coin that you can either feed into that unit for a dupe or save that coin to trade it in for this coin shop, which has characters and some other stuff. 2 of those units, King and Diane, are originally free to play, so you get the first copy of them for free by playing the game, and then if you want dupes of them, that's when you get that's when you have to kind of purchase the coin shop units from there. Now, Gowther and King are the best units in the game, Gowther being number 1, King being number 2. They are amazing in PvP, and they're amazing in PvE. You will use Gowther in almost every single form of content this game has to offer, and then King will be used in majority of the game's content. They are both viable in not just viable, they both run the meta in PvP, and to me PvP is more important than PvE, but in this game the story is quite difficult. So these units are a must-have. You will get King for free, but Gowther you will have to purchase from the coin shop. Now, when the game came out on JP, all the coin shop units were not available at once. We had to purchase the units one at a time. I mean, all the units were available, I believe, and you could purchase them at the full rate. No, I don't even think you could. I don't believe they had the option of being purchased at the seven coin cost originally. You just had to wait for them to be on cycle and pick them up as they came along. So originally, King, or whatever the ordering was, Gowther was not out first. It was something like King was out week 1, Bond was out week 2, Gowther was out week 3, Merlin was out week 4, Demon Meliodas was out week 5. Something like that, right? There was like a method or a calendar that they were following. So if you do not see these units in there day 1, just keep in mind that they will be released over time, if that's the case. Also, in case I didn't make it clear, those 6 units that I mentioned, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, cannot be found on banners. So you cannot reroll for them. These units are exclusive to that shop. Moving forward, who is the best unit to reroll for? This guy right here. Regular Meliodas is the best unit in the game when it comes to getting through the content early on launch, right? He has a mechanic full counter, which allows him to deal percentage HP damage back, meaning he scales very, very hard with, as the game progresses. Because he does a percentage of, your HP is always increasing as you level him up, gear him up, and things like that, meaning he is always doing more and more damage. Full counter is pretty much a cheese mechanic that allows you to one-shot half of the PvE content in this game, regardless of the element of the enemy. Second best non-coin shop unit is Jericho. Jericho is the hardest hitting unit in the game, and she has been the hardest hitting unit in the game for 8 months until 2 or 3 days ago when Derriere came out. So for a really long time, she will be a great unit to pick up. There's a lot of scoring mechanics in this game, or like ranking systems, and she's pretty much the unit that you always use when you want to go for a high score on certain missions or whatever the event is. Now, for the rest of these three are just the other 3 coin shop units that are really good. Most likely, it'll probably be like this in terms of ordering. When the game comes out, Bond is decreased significantly as importance, but for the first 3 months, he was pretty much extreme meta unit, and he has AoE, and he's just amazing in PvP. So I'm gonna assume that it's gonna be the same way on launch. Demon Meliodas, you need him for Crimson, also great at PvE content and usable in PvE. Merlin's just a great overall unit, one of the best units in PvP, really underrated. Now, going to S tier, these are units that you really want to aim for when you are re-rolling. I'm actually going to probably put it like this. Okay. So, units that you want to aim for, when I say you want to aim for these as rerolling, it's like you really want Meliodas and only Meliodas, and then if you're going for that sweet reroll, then you want anyone else in this category. So they're going to help you out a lot. SRs are pretty easy to come by, so they're don't worry about these guys too much. You'll pick them up as the game progresses. You just get a lot of SRs in this game. SSRs are the highest rarity. Now, this king is pretty much a must-have for Grey Demon when Grey Demon comes out. I'm assuming Grey Demon will not be out on the launch of this game, but you kind of want him early on just so he's there. When it comes out, you can beat the content. This Elizabeth and this Slater are used for Red Demon, which will be out on day 1. In addition to that, Merlin will also be very useful for Red Demon, and so will Gustav. They both have a freeze mechanic, which is extremely useful there. And then Deanne is just an overall great unit, and so is this Elizabeth. She's a healer, and then this one's a damage dealer. So it's like, ideally you go for Meliodas plus this row, and any one of these is nice to have. Gustav will be in the coin shop, or should be in the coin shop. That's how, yeah, I believe he's a coin shop exclusive unit as well, if I remember correctly. Now, A tier, these are units where it's like, you know, if you invest into this unit, you will get use out of them at some point. Some more than others. He's a buffer, tank, healer, damage dealer, seals. You use her for a passive. He's actually one of the... Okay, so let me try ordering these a little bit more. You really need him for story. Yeah. I think this is about right. I'm not going to explain too much about this row. Just keep in mind, he is probably... I believe I gotta put him up here. Gil Thunder is most likely the best SR unit in the entire game. Do it like that. So building him is really good. He has an amazing passive for PvP, and on top of that, he's just buffs damage. Yeah. That's it. Like, you use him because he makes it easier to clear content. Then this Bon, you get him as a free unit in the story, and you pretty, you know, he makes it really far in terms of usability. Like, you're pretty much gonna need him all the way up until the end of the story. And then the rest of these guys are just like, if you get these units, they're really nice plus because you can use them almost at any point. These are the better SRs, and then this rare is probably the most used rare in the game, simply because he buffs green damage and then combos with Jericho extremely well. Besides that, like the rest of these guys down here, pretty much this tier right here, B tier, is the rest of the SSRs that if you get, you can use them. But if you have the units above, you will not need these units at all. That's kind of what it is, right? The story of this game, or the content of this game, can be completed by a very select amount of characters, which means that majority of the characters don't end up getting used. And I can give you an example, right? I have my Japanese account pulled up here. So like, this is my roster, right? If you take a look at the units that I don't use, it's a hefty amount of units that I just don't ever use, because there's literally no need for them, right? Like, I can beat, well, some of these units I just pulled, so keep in mind. Estro's amazing. But you just don't need to use these units. I can beat every single mission in the game without them. And a lot of these are just leveled up for me to, like, I still don't use them up here. I just leveled them up to make my box nicer. That's kind of why I'm leaving those down there. These are the category of units that you can, if you want to level up, go ahead, but you don't ever have to use these units to beat the game. And then C tier are just like the other units that will get more use. Like, if you build these, they're fine. You will use them at some point. I just threw the SSRs here just to separate them into their own category, but there's no real reason to that. They're just naturally better units than the ones below because they're SSRs. That's really it. Like, none of them will see long-term play. This Gowther sees some play, and then I'll probably put it like this. I didn't order these at all. Yeah, something along these lines. But that's really it. So, I didn't want to spend too much time on this. This is kind of my tier list for Grand Cross Global. Like I said, and I'll say it again, this is potentially a incorrect list in terms of the characters available to me, but the list was made with what I currently know. For the most part, I feel like it's going to be accurate. It's just a matter of, you know, are there going to be additional characters that will be out on day one? That's what I'm curious about. Because then if, let's say, Escanor comes out for whatever reason on day one, all of a sudden he's chilling up here. So yeah, that's really it. I don't know if this Arthur is out. I could be wrong even within this list just because it's all based off a leak. But if this is the one unit that might be in the game, and if it is, this unit belongs here. Yeah, that's it. But I'm gonna throw him back down because I don't know if he's actually in the game or not. That's really it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Like I said, you can take a look at any of these characters on the database websites that I linked down below. And that's it. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful day. If you want some more global content, or if you want... So here's the big thing. With global coming out, because I've been playing JP for a long time, I am not in the mindset of what does a new player need to get started. So please give me ideas on what you want to see as that'll be helpful for you. That'll give me ideas on what to make. That's it. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.